So in sociology, of course, you have 6 thinkers. Now, Karl Marx is one of the most important thinkers out of these 6. With respect to Karl Marx, there are certain, with respect to every thinker in sociology, the 6 thinkers that are specifically mentioned in paper 1, their specific topics is what we have to do. So under Karl Marx, we will be doing historical materialism, mode of production, class struggle, as well as alienation. So today, in today's lecture, we will be looking at the alienation theory by Karl Marx. So first things first, what do we mean by alienation? To understand the meaning of alienation, you can go into the origin of this word alienation. So this word originates from the Latin word alienus or alienaire. Now, what does alienus or alienaire means? It means estrangement. Now, the problem is we were going to understand alienation. Now we have come across a new word, that is estrangement. So let us understand estrangement and hence alienation as well. So take for example that you are going to watch a cricket match. India versus Pakistan cricket match is there. Now in this cricket match, or in generally the matches in the stadium, what happens is there are different sections for people to sit, in the sense that recently concluded, it has been a lot of time now, the World Cup, for example, let's say it's happening in India and the India-Pakistan match is there. So India is the home team, Indians are the home supporters. So the entire ground would be divided into places which are earmarked for the home supporters and places which are earmarked for the away supporters, and there can be some common places as well. So just imagine you are going to watch that match. We are Indian, we are going to watch, let's say just you, an Indian, going to watch an India-Pakistan match, wearing an Indian jersey, going to support Indian cricket team. Now, what happens is, by mistake, you either get a ticket or somehow you end up in the opponent team's sitting area. Okay, so what is the situation now? You are one single Indian fan in the area which is designated for the opponent, that is the Pakistani fans. So surrounded by the entire Pakistani fans wearing Pakistani team's jersey, and you are all there alone wearing the Indian cricket team's jersey and supporting India. Now, in such a situation, will you feel welcomed in that place? Will you be able to identify yourself with the surrounding people? Of course, they are also humans, that's not the point, but the point is a cricket match is going on and you are supporters. You are the supporter of India, they are supporters of Pakistan. So you won't be able to identify yourself with the crowd, that's one thing. The jersey which you are wearing is completely different with respect to the rest of the people surrounding you. Again, sort of establishing a disconnect. So it will establish a disconnect, right? At the same time, you will be feeling uncomfortable probably because that's not the place you find yourself most comfortable with. Also, what will happen? The chants you will be singing would be completely different from the chants that they would be singing. The reaction you would be giving in different situations of the match would be completely different from the reactions those people would be giving. If Virat Kohli, let's say, hits a 4, so you will be applauding it, but they won't. If an Indian wicket falls, they would be applauding it, but you won't. So your reactions, your behavior, your attitude, everything would be completely different. As a result of which, when let's say a wicket falls, everyone is appreciating, but you are quiet. So you would what feel? You will get the feeling of isolation. At the same time, can you make them change completely and start supporting Indian cricket team? Of course not. So you would also feel powerlessness, right? So you will be having a disconnect. You will feel isolated because you are alone over there. Imagine a situation when 10 Indian supporters are there and 10 Pakistani supporters. At that time, you may not feel that much of isolation. But here you are one single supporter, basically having surrounded by the Pakistani supporters in hundreds. So you will feel isolation, of course. At the same time, since you cannot change how they react, what they do, whom they support, you will also feel a sense of powerlessness. So this disconnect, this isolation, this sense of powerlessness together make you to feel or have a feeling of estrangement, disassociated with what is happening around you. And this feeling of disconnect, isolation and powerlessness, which leads to estrangement, is nothing but the feeling of alienation. I hope that's absolutely clear. So since you are having a feeling of alienation, so my friends, you are now alienated. You are now alienated. Now another example if I have to give is, the movie PK you might have seen. So in PK, when Amir Khan comes to earth from a different planet altogether, is he all happy? Is he able to identify himself with the surrounding people, connect with them easily? No. He is finding it difficult even to communicate. He learns the language, but he does not have the sense of what to talk, how to talk and where to talk. So there is a complete disconnect. What happens further is he loses his radio and literally at one point prays to God and ends up crying. So, and not able to do about getting the radio back. So again, powerlessness. At the same time, everyone else is mingling with each other properly, but this person is not able to mingle. So this person also gets isolated, right? So what is happening to Amir Khan in that movie? Again, a feeling of estrangement, that is alienation. Now in the similar manner, if we were to go on, let's say on another planet, and we are surrounded by millions of different species altogether which are not humans, we may also feel alienated. We may also feel alienation. So this, guys, is the concept of alienation, wherein you feel the disconnect, the powerlessness and isolation, leading to a feeling of estrangement, which is nothing but the feeling of alienation, and hence you are alienated. Now in these examples which I gave you, there have been alienation in when you're watching a match, it's a social life, you're enjoying your recreation time, even then you are feeling alienated. Amir Khan coming to a different planet, different place, feeling alienated in his entire life. But when you talk about Karl Marx, so when you restrict yourself to Karl Marx over here, so alienation can happen in any walk of life, at any situation, at any place, in any domain of life, personal or professional, right? But with respect to Karl Marx and his concept of alienation, Karl Marx talks about alienation at workplace. So he is restricting himself with respect to alienation at workplace, but at the same time, he is not restricting himself at all. Why? Because he says that alienation at workplace, so he will be discussing alienation at workplace, but also he says that alienation at workplace leads to alienation everywhere. Alienation at workplace leads to alienation everywhere. Now, why is that so? First, remember when Karl Marx is talking this about, right, long time back, wherein industrial revolution, industrial production was at its peak, and at that time, and he is talking specifically with respect to the industrial laborers and even other workers in general, but specifically industrial laborers. So if you look at that time, what was the working condition of the industrial laborers at that time? The working condition was they were daily wage laborers. What happens when you are a daily wage laborer? If you come to and do the work, you get the payment. There is no holiday. If you don't come, you don't get the payment. So daily wage laborers, high working hours, working for 14, 16 plus hours, right? There is no recreation time, no leisure time. Our main focus here is this high working hours, 14 to 16 hours of work. So in a 24-hour of day, if you are working for 16 hours, you are working for 66% of the time, and the remaining 8 hours you are not enjoying. From the remaining 8 hours, you go home, you have food and sleep, right? And this food, eating food, energizing and sleeping also, why you are doing that? Not to enjoy, so that you can work again the next day. So now guys, can you see how much of an influence your work had at that time? 14, 16 hours of work, the remaining are getting utilized to rejuvenate yourself to work again. As a result of which, he is saying this, alienation at workplace leads to alienation everywhere, and to an extent he is not wrong, because of high working hours, no recreation time, daily wage laborer, so you cannot afford to take a leave, there is no leave also, so your work is everything, the work becomes everything. So of course alienation in work leads to alienation anywhere. All right, so this is the context in which he talks about. Now let us understand alienation with respect to its proper definition in a sentence. So we understood the concept. Now what is alienation? If we have to write, it is a socio-psychological condition. See, these phrases, these terms, these sociological terms are very important in your answer writing, because the question may look like a general studies question at time, but your answers have to be sociological. How can you make your answers sociological? By using sociological technical terminologies. So it is a socio-psychological condition in which one feels estranged from oneself. Now when we talk about estranged, what does estranged mean? Disconnect, isolated, powerless and meaningless. So it is a socio-psychological condition in which one feels disconnected, isolated, powerless and meaningless, meaning feels estranged from oneself. Now socio-psychological as in, psychological as in it's in your head, in the sense that you are feeling it, that feeling is there of isolation, so that's why psychological, an individual's feeling. Socio, because with respect to the society, you're not able to identify yourself with human beings, with species being, with your own self. Hence, you are socio-psychological. It's a socio-psychological condition in which one feels estranged, that is disconnected, isolated and powerless and meaningless from oneself. Okay. Now, to whom does this alienation happen? Now in generally, if you probably studying from some books and all, you may find that those books consist only talking about alienation of the proletariat. But let me tell you, it's not the case. In Karl Marx's actual work, he talks about of alienation of proletariat as well as the bourgeois. So do not forget that, mention the point of alienation of bourgeois also to get that additional marks more than your competitors. Okay, so let me explain what we are talking about. So Karl Marx, what he has done is, he has divided the entire society into two classes. Two classes. What are these two classes? This is, number one is the haves, number two is the have-nots. So haves are nothing but the owner class. The have, who own the modes of production, who own the land, who own the machinery, who own the capital. So this is an owner class, the haves. The have-nots are the labor class, that is the non-owner class. Now the non-owner class does not own the land, capital or equipment or modes of production, if you say generally. Okay. So as per Marx, the entire society is divided into only two classes, and if you look at it, that is how it is. There are criticisms of that, we'll see that later, but of course the entire society divided into two classes, the haves and the have-nots. The haves, he calls it as the bourgeois. This term is for the haves, or the owner class is the bourgeois, and for the have-nots the term used is proletariat. Okay, so it's very easy to understand that it's the proletariat that is going to undergo alienation. Absolutely yes. Proletariats will be undergoing alienation, they will be feeling the heat of the alienation more, but Karl Marx in his work also says that there will come a point, there will come a stage wherein the bourgeois will also be alienated. Less number of bourgeois alienated, less degree of alienation, less amount, less effect or impact of alienation, but at one particular point of time, even the bourgeois will be alienated. Okay, so Karl Marx talks about alienation of the proletariat as well as the alienation of the bourgeois. So we will look at both of them. Generally in certain books you will find only alienation of the proletariat, but make sure you make it a point to mention the alienation of the bourgeois also. We will understand how that also happens. Okay, so classification into two parts, alienation of the proletariat and the alienation of the bourgeois. So let's start with alienation of proletariat. Proletariat is in the non-ownership class, the labor class, the workers, the have-nots. Okay. So alienation of proletariat can take place in four different ways. That would be alienation from the product. That is one, alienation from the product. Second would be alienation from the process. Third is alienation from species being as in the species to which we belong. Okay. And fourth, alienation from human beings. Alienation from human being is nothing but a derivative of alienation from the species being. We get alienated from the entire species of ours. That means we are also alienated with each and every individual human being present in our species. Okay, so these are the four types of alienation that happens for the proletariat. Let's start with the very first, that is alienation from the product. Alienation from the product. Remember what alienation means: feeling of estrangement, disconnect, isolation, powerlessness, meaninglessness. Okay, alienation from the product. Now, with respect to the product, what are the things present with respect to the product? What things will make you identify yourself with the product? First things first, if let's say you are deciding what to make. Okay, so what to make? There are certain questions with respect to the product, right? With respect to the product, the certain questions are there, that what to make. Okay, now who decides what to make? Does the proletariat as in the labor class, does the labor decide what to make? You working in a firm, do you decide what product needs to be made? You don't decide it. Now, how much to make? Does the proletariat decide how much to make? Again, the proletariat does not decide how much to make. How to make? Is this decided by the proletariat? No, there would be defined standard operating procedures, standard, let's say guidelines, etc., requirements, all those things would be different, and the proletariat will not be deciding that again. So who will be deciding this? This is decided by the owner, that is the bourgeois. This is decided by the owner, that is the bourgeois. This is decided by the owner, again that is the bourgeois. Then finally, once what to make, how much to make, how to make is decided, then you finally make it. Once the product is made, what do you do with the product? Do you keep it for yourself? Do you sell it? Do you sell it to the poor people, to this people, to that people? At what cost? Who decides that? Again, the proletariat does not decide it. So, what to do with the product? Again, the owner decides it. So what is happening? What to make, how much to make, how to make, and what to do with the product? The construction, development, as well as the destiny or the disposal of the product, none of this is decided by the proletariat. Okay, none of this is decided by the alienation from the product of the proletariat. Okay, so we are talking about alienation of the proletariat. Remember, proletariat is the labor. Okay, so all these things are not decided by the proletariat, it is being decided by the owner. And Karl Marx says, since there is no control of the proletariat on the fate of the product, therefore proletariat is alienated from the product. The proletariat did not decide what to be made, how much to be made, how to make it, and what happens to the product. So there is no control, no decision of the proletariat on the fate of the product, on the development of the product. Hence, the proletariat is alienated from the product. I hope that's clear. Now, this is alienation from the product. Now comes alienation from the process. Alienation from the process. Now, what do we mean by alienation from the process? What to produce, how much to produce, how to produce, what will happen to the product, nothing is decided by the proletariat. At the same time, the process is having extreme division of labor. Meaning what? Take for example the assembly line production. Assembly line production. What happens, guys, in an assembly line production? So in an assembly line production, there is a conveyor belt like this. Okay, different people are standing and doing different things, guys. Their feet are below, don't worry. So different people are standing here. What is happening is, let's say few cardboards are coming, right? And from this cardboard you need to create a box. Okay, here the cardboards are getting supplied. The first person arranges the cardboard in order. The first person is doing nothing but, let's say, arranging the cardboards in proper order based on the size or the shape or whatever, based on that. The second person, let's say, the cardboard color is brown, so you need to, let's say, color it up or dip it in certain paint or something. So dips in color. Now you have arranged cardboards dipped in particular color. Now this person gives it shape, the shape of the box what it should be. Then this person, let's say, glues the cardboard, right? The final person, let's say, what can you do? Probably close it. Close and wrap. In fact, just close, and the next person would probably wrap it. So now 5-6 people are required to just create one single box. So what happens? After going home, who will be able to say that today I made 100 boxes? Neither of them. Neither of them will be able to say that I made 100 boxes. Why? Because this person just arranged the cardboards in order. This person just dipped it in color. This person just gave it the shape. This person just glued the cardboard. This person just closed it, and one person just wrapped it up. So no one is able to have a sense of achievement. Because of what? Because of extreme division of labor. Earlier, this one thing would have been done by just one individual. So when the cardboard, the box is complete, you can say, very, with a satisfaction and sense of achievement, that I have made these things. Now you can't. Same is the case if you are, let's say, working in an industry wherein automobiles or a car is made. So in that, what these people would be doing? One door of the car would come. You have to, let's say, assemble it. So one person would dip it in the color, the other person would add the screw, next person would screw it, put bolts in it, and then pass it on, and then it goes away. So you are not even creating an entire car. One person is just coloring it, one person is just adding the screw, other person is just screwing it. So are you able to identify yourself with the process? Will you have any sense of achievement? No, you will not, because of extreme division of labor. And because of it, since you are not able to enjoy what you are doing, since you are not able to identify yourself with the process that is happening, hence there will be alienation from the process. Alienation from the process. Why? Because there was extreme division of labor. These are the reasons. Extreme division of labor, as we can see. Plus, this work is very mechanical. Mechanical as in, are you required to use your brain? No. Of course, brain as in, even to see brain is required, but are you required to use your creative brain? Absolutely not. Just the thing comes, you dip it, pass it on, dip it, pass it on, dip it, pass it on. Like a robot, a mechanical work. Also, this work is repetitive in nature. Every day, every second of the day, the same work you have to do. No creativity, no imagination, the same repetition. And hence, because of extreme division of labor, mechanical nature of work, and the repetitive nature of work, you are alienated from the process. I hope this is absolutely clear. Then comes alienation from species being. Alienation from species, alienation from species being. Now, Marx says that a human being naturally is creative. Human being naturally is creative. Human being can be differentiated from other animals. Human beings are what? Social animals. But we can be differentiated from other animals because of our creativity, of our creative mind. At the same time, what makes humans happy is the leisure time. And humans want this leisure time. It's not like animals just hunt, eat and sleep. Hunt, eat, sleep. Hunt, eat, sleep. Or grazing animals just grazing chewing and sleeping. That's it. That's not how humans are. Humans are creative. Humans need leisure time. This is what differentiates the species of humans from other species of animals, right? But what happens in let's say industrial or any sort of assembly line industries where workers are working, when they are non-owners, when they are not able to decide what to produce, what happens is there is no creativity. Also, initially we saw why alienation is happening. You know why alienation in workplace is alienation everywhere? Because the working hours were too much. So high workload. Due to high workload, it leads to no leisure time. No leisure time. It is opposite to the leisure time. No creativity. It is opposite to creativity. So the things that defined the species of humans are now gone. Since those things are now gone and are not present, hence alienation from species being. I hope this is absolutely clear. Okay. At the same time, what is happening is whatever you are producing as subsistence. You will say, sir, why subsistence? It is surplus and that is being sold. That is for the capitalist, for the bourgeois to have additional, to have profits. But for a worker, for an industrial laborer, every day going, earning the wages, eating, surviving. So for them, it is just subsistence, right? So that is also an issue, just subsistence. Even when they are coming back home, they are getting ready for next day's work. So it's a very subsistence way of survival for the proletariat, with no creativity, with no leisure time, which is opposite of what a species has to be, and hence alienation from species being is there, right? Now comes the final type of alienation which is there in the alienation of proletariat, that is alienation from human being. Now, as I said, alienation from human being is nothing but a derivative of alienation from species being. You are alienated from your own species. That means you are alienated from each and every individual of that species. That means each and every individual of the species, that is what? Human being. Okay. So here alienation of human being would be what? Earlier humans were creating objects. Human was creating product. But during the industrial revolution, during the industrial workers' time, when you are working in industry, Karl Marx says that alienation has come due to capitalism. We'll see that. So what has happened? You are not creating a product. We saw you are not creating the product. Are you creating the product? No, you are just arranging it, dipping it in color, creating shape out of it. You are not able to identify yourself with the product. Okay. So earlier humans created the product. One single product created by one single person, right? Now what is the thing? Humans themselves are the product. So earlier humans were creating the product, that is the object. Now humans themselves are the product. That is what Karl Marx says, that guys, now you yourself are the product, right? And hence, so earlier humans were creating the product. Now we have established that humans are not creating the product. They are not able to identify themselves with the product because of automation, because of technology, because of assembly line production, because of huge amount of things being produced and no control over the production, the process, the type or anything whatsoever. So you are no longer creating the product, you yourself have become the product, and hence there is alienation from human being. Also because when you are creating the product, there is competition among different humans for promotion, for job, for salary increment, so on and so forth. So you are competing against your own individual other human beings, and hence getting alienated from human being also. Okay, so these are the alienation which is there in the proletariat. Okay, now Karl Marx does not end over here. He also talks about the alienation of the bourgeois. Alienation of the bourgeois. So now let's look at the alienation of bourgeois. Alienation of the bourgeois. Now, how will bourgeois get alienated? Because the bourgeois are deciding, if you look at the slides we have gone through, what is happening? Okay. So, bourgeois is deciding what to make. Bourgeois is deciding how much to make. Bourgeois is deciding how to make. Bourgeois is deciding what to do with the product. Right? So, bourgeois has the control over the product. Right? So there would be no alienation with respect to the product. Now bourgeois is not doing all this work. These are all proletariat. So no alienation with respect to the process also as such. Then they have all the creative and leisure time. They are not in the industry working for 16 hours and doing heavy work and then going home and sleeping and rejuvenating for the next day. They are having it. They may have other stress, I get that. But then it is their choice, out of their own will they are choosing. Someone is not forcing them, so they can have their creativity, their leisure time, their holiday, etc., etc. Okay, even if they don't come to the industry on a particular day, still they get the profits. That's not the case. So no alienation from the species being. Since no alienation from the species being, they are not alienated from the human being also, because they are not the product. They are not the object. It's the proletariat that's the object, right? So all these things are not happening. Then why is Karl Marx saying that alienation of bourgeois will happen? That is because of the anarchy of the market forces. Anarchy of the market forces. Anarchy means lawlessness, wherein you lose control. So market do have rules, regulations, but Karl Marx says, see, anarchy as in lawlessness, the control is now lost. So Karl Marx says that there will come a time wherein the competition would be so high that in the bourgeois, certain bourgeois will become powerful and certain bourgeois may go out of business and become proletariat. So once they become proletariat, all those alienation of the proletariat will happen. But the remaining bourgeois, because of increasing competition and stuff, will no longer be able to decide what to produce, how much to produce, but based on the requirement of the people, the demand, the market, they will be driven by that requirement. So if I want to produce footballs, but there is too much of competition in creation of football because too many people are doing that at cheaper prices, then probably I'll have to switch to producing cricket bats, which I didn't want to. So what has happened? Did I make the decision on my free will? No. So there will come a time, as and when the capitalism keeps on increasing and polarizing, what will happen? The bourgeois will not be able to decide what to produce, how much to produce, and it will be the market that decides for the bourgeois. Market that decides for the bourgeois. Why? Because there is increased competition. Increased competition, the pressure to keep the prices low. pressure, and other bourgeois are getting out of business, so there is a pressure to remain in business. So because of this, what will happen? The autonomy that the bourgeois had earlier will now be taken away. And since the autonomy will be taken away, there would be alienation of the bourgeois also, because of the anarchy of the market forces, because now it's the market that is deciding for the bourgeois. Okay, because of these reasons. Alright, hence alienation of the bourgeois will also take place. Right, I hope that is absolutely clear. Now, why is this all happening? Why is alienation of bourgeois happening? Why is alienation of the proletariat happening? So for that, let us understand the causes of alienation. It's very simple. The explanation is long, but let's say the reason is just one word of Karl Marx. The cause of alienation, or I should rather say the cause of alienation, is nothing but, let me write it in capital, it is nothing but capitalism. This, guys, is the cause of alienation. Everything has originated from this, is what Marx says. Now let us understand how. To understand how this is the cause of alienation as per Karl Marx, let us divide the society into two different types. That is pre-capitalism, as in prior to capitalism, and then during capitalism. Pre-capitalism and during capitalism. So pre-capitalism, Karl Marx says work was equal to play, and of course in capitalism what will happen? Work is not equal to play. Now, why pre-capitalism work is equal to play and in capitalism work is not equal to play? It is simply because here when you are doing your work, you are doing a particular work out of your interest. Okay, you are doing pottery, you are doing fishing, you are doing agriculture out of your interest. Now there will be certain exceptions, and that would be the criticism also, but generally pre-capitalism era, you are doing work out of your interest. You are the decision maker. Decision maker of your work, as in you are the one deciding. Let's say if you want to do pottery, you are the one deciding what kind of pots to make, what kind of vase to make, what kind of things to make, how much to make, how to make, and what to do about it, which one to keep for my own use, which one to sell, to whom to sell. All those decisions are being taken by you. First of all, you started the work with your own interest, so you are interested in that. The decision making is also what you are doing, and hence you have control over what you are doing. So, is there powerlessness? No, because you are deciding. Is that meaninglessness? No, because it is out of your interest. Are you feeling isolated? No, it's you who's controlling things. So there is no isolation, no powerlessness, no meaninglessness, no disconnect. You are also able to identify yourself with the product that you have created. You are, to create a pot, you are going and collecting the, let's say the clay you want, from where you want, how much you want to make, what to make, how to make, and then you yourself are making it, you yourself are coloring it and heating it and making a pakka kind of a pot, which is a permanent kind of a pot. You are the one who's doing all that. and you are the one deciding what happens with it. You out of so many pots you make, this one you can keep it, or you want to sell, whatever you want to make. So you are able to also identify with the product that yes, this is mine, I have made it, right? So as a result of which, in pre-capitalism, since it was out of your interest, the decisions were yours, the control you had, and you identify yourself with the product, that is why work was equal to play for you. But in capitalist society, not talking about the bourgeois, but the proletariat, in the capitalist society, what happened to the proletariat? The proletariat cannot decide, no decisions, cannot take decisions, right? Cannot decide the fate, cannot identify, with the product. And because of all these reasons, for the proletariat in a capitalist society, work is not equal to play. And hence Karl Marx says capitalism, guys, is the reason or the cause of alienation. Plus, for bourgeois, what will be the cause of alienation? We have already done that. That is the anarchy of the market forces. So there are two causes of alienation. One is the capitalism. The other is the anarchy of the market forces. In fact, even this is stemming from what? This is stemming from capitalism only. Clear? Hence, the cause of alienation is nothing but capitalism. Alright? Now, so all disconnection, powerlessness, meaninglessness, all negative feelings basically, which Marx has told, but Marx gives a very positive end to it. How does Marx give an end to it? Marx says that there is a, don't worry guys, there is a solution, is what Marx says. So what is the solution? Solution to alienation. Now, Marx says that there is solution to alienation, and in two ways. Either you can completely end it or you can reduce it. Okay. So it can be either end to alienation, this will also be a solution, or reduction in alienation, this is also a solution. End to alienation, this is a solution. Reduction in alienation, this is a solution. So for both the things, Marx gives a solution. For ending alienation, Karl Marx says there is only one thing that can end alienation, and that is communism. Okay. So Karl Marx says only communism can end alienation. There is no other way, there is no other kind of an economic system or a system of society which can put an end to alienation. Only communism can put an end to alienation, right? But Karl Marx says, however, now the communism has not come yet, right? So without the communism coming, you cannot end alienation, but you can reduce alienation. So how can reduction in alienation take place? It can take place by humanizing working conditions, right? Reducing working hours. When you reduce working hours, it gives what? More leisure time. Plus higher remuneration. When the remuneration is higher, you can take leaves and all those things also still get good pay. So humanizing the working condition, reducing the working hours, which would lead to increase in leisure time, and higher remuneration can lead to reduction in alienation. It cannot end alienation. No amount of humanization or reducing in working hours or higher remuneration can end alienation, because you cannot make it 0. Then you are not working and you are not earning at all. Okay. So just by reducing, just by humanizing, just by higher remuneration, you cannot make it alienation 0, because still there will be certain things you don't like the work, you are not able to identify with the product, process, etc., etc. So for alienation to end, there needs to be communism. Without communism, it can only be reduced, and it can be reduced by humanizing working condition, reducing working hours, which leads to more leisure time and higher remuneration for the proletariat. Okay, so guys, this is the theory of alienation by Karl Marx. We have also looked at the solution. Now, while we were understanding this, we might have thought about a lot of issues with this theory. So don't worry, we'll look at the criticisms also. In fact, in sociology, whenever you are studying any theory, any concept, any perspective, you have to ensure that you know its criticisms as well. So let's go on to the criticisms. So the very first criticism is that it ignores, Karl Marx has completely ignored the meaning held by individuals in the society. So ignores the meaning held by members of the society. I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what does this mean. So if you look at the very beginning, so Karl Marx, what he did, here also if you look at, Karl Marx decided that a species wants to be, human species wants to be creative, it wants leisure time. Someone may not want that much of leisure time, yeah, they would want to earn more and more money, they are interested in that. What about the concept of greed? What about earning more and more and more and not worrying about the leisure time? Maybe working more is what you like. Some people actually do this. The concept of workaholics, working a lot, earning more, the greed, or not just the greed, not necessarily a greed. You can have the desire to earn more money and to, become, let's say, the richest person in the world. Now, just by salary, being a salaried employee, you cannot do that. But so you may own a business and you may become a bourgeois, but even the salaried employee would want to get better and better jobs, even if it requires more number of hours to be given. If the job is highly remunerative, they may still join it. So the idea is different members of the society may have different ideas of work or play. So work for someone can be play when they have very less to do. Work for someone can be play when they are required to do a lot of things, but they are getting highly paid. Work for someone can be doing what they like, even if it is for more number of hours, right? So if you ask me to teach, let's say biology over here, that's not my subject, so I won't be able to teach you that. I may not like it, even if you ask me to teach for 2 hours. But if you ask me to teach sociology, even for 5 hours, 6 hours, I will do that because I like it. So number of hours is not mattering. So different peoples may hold different concepts, different ideas of creativity, of leisure time, of what is alienation for them, so on and so forth. Maybe with less amount of money they feel powerless, etc., etc. So because, now did Karl Marx take that into account? No. Karl Marx simply says, boss, if you are a human being, species of human being, then you have to be creative and you have to have leisure time. That's it. This is what defines that you are a part of human species, nothing else. But the criticism is exactly that it is ignoring the meaning held by members of the society. Different members can hold different meaning. So why this was disregarded? Because Marx paints a picture, with very vague picture, with respect to what human beings should be. What human beings should be. So alienation theory vaguely based on what humans ought to be. right? But who has decided that humans have to be like this only? No one. So that exactly is the criticism over here. Plus, there are other criticisms from other thinkers also. For example, Robert Blonner. Now, Robert Blonner says that Marx is saying, what is the cause of alienation? Capitalism, a system of economy. It's a system. So, Marx is saying the alienation is happening because of an economic system. But Robert Blonner says that alienation is not due to economic system. Since he is saying it's not due to economic system, he also has to say then it is due to what? So Robert Blonner says that alienation is a function of degree of technology. There are two things he said, or you can use two things instead here. Is a function of degree or level of technology. It's not due to the economic system, but it is a function of degree or level of technology. Function of meaning it is due to the degree or level of technology. Alienation is due to the level of technology, and it is a function of the level of technology. And how is it a function? He gives a curvilinear relation between alienation and level of technology. What is curvilinear? See, there can be a linear relation. So if you draw a graph, if it's a straight line, it's a linear relation. If you draw a graph, it's a curved line, curvilinear. So curvilinear is not just one type of curve. It can be a curve like this. It can be let's say a curve like this. It can be any sort of curve, but it is curving. So this is actually curvilinear, right? This is what? This is linear. Okay. So Robert Blonner gives a curvilinear relation between what? Between alienation and technology. Let us see what. And Marx has said it is due to economic system, but Robert Blonner is criticizing and saying it's not due to economic system but due to technology, and this has a curvilinear relation. Let us understand what he is trying to say and what kind of a relationship is he trying to mean. So Robert Blonner says that as the level of technology increases, alienation will increase. Okay. So as the level of technology increases, don't just yet draw it because I am going to explain step by step, then I'll ask you to draw. Robert Blonner says that when the level of technology increases, alienation will increase. Okay. But only up to a certain limit. Okay. So he says that alienation increases with increasing level of technology. But is this going to continue forever till eternity, as and when it can keep on increasing? No. Alienation increases with increasing level of technology, but only up to a level. Afterwards, with increase in technology, what will happen? Alienation decreases. This is what Robert Bronner says. First he says it's not a function of the system or capitalism, it's a function of level of technology. Also there is a curvilinear relation, meaning alienation increases with increasing level of technology, but only up to a level. Afterwards what will happen? With increase in technology, the alienation would decrease. So initially alienation is increasing with the level of technology, but afterwards with the increase in technology, after a certain point, alienation would decrease. So what would the graph look like? The graph would look like, now you can draw it, the graph would look like something like this, curvilinear. With the increase, so let me write it down, this is level of technology, this is alienation. So what is happening? Now this he says, the craft industry. Craft industry, you are making baskets, this, that. So there is very less use of technology, making with your own hands and all. So less level of technology, less amount of alienation. But then when you go on to make, let's say, textile clothing and all, this is textile industry. In textile industry, there is more automation, big machinery and all will be there. Right, so more automation, more utilization of machinery, more repetitive kind of a work, so increase in alienation. Then he says that it peaks in the automobile industry, wherein there is the assembly line system, there is Fordism. 10 people are standing doing small jobs, mechanical jobs, repetitive jobs, it is highly technologically advanced, because everything is there on the conveyor belt, automatically coming, you just fix it, it moves ahead, goes to someone else. Assembly line system. High technology, higher, see, this has more technology than this has more technology than this. Here in the automobile sector, he says that alienation peaks. Afterwards, what will happen is, he says it will come down. For example, over here, he talks about the chemical industry. Chemical industry has more automation than in automobile industry. How? You know, in chemicals, when chemicals are made, what should be the mix? To have the exact mix of different chemicals to form another chemical, you computerize it. And it happens automatically, gets mixed with robotic hands and all those things. You just work on the computer. So it is way more technologically advanced than automobiles. Here the action also which you are doing is computerized. Okay, so way more technologically advanced than automobiles, but this is the peak. Afterwards, any more technological advancement, he gives an example of chemical industry, it would lead to reduction in alienation. And this is nothing but the curvilinear relation between alienation and level of technology as given by Robert Bronner. And this is also it's a theory in itself, which is nothing but a criticism of Karl Marx's theory of alienation. Okay, there is another person, Mr. M. Seaman. M. Seaman simply says that, again he says that it's not the system that leads to alienation, but individualistic phenomena. Individualistic phenomena. Alienation, he says, alienation is an individualistic phenomena and not a function of the system. System as in not a function of capitalism. Why individualistic? Because he says, because of the presence of this capitalism in this particular mode of work, different individual will react differently, their minds will work differently, and as a result of which some may be alienated, some may not, some may like it. Hence, it is an individualistic phenomena which you cannot generalize based on the system of capitalism. Alright, so these are the criticism of Karl Marx's theory of alienation. Now the questions that are asked in this topic, there can be a 20-mark question, but 10-mark questions are very commonly asked. In question 1 of your paper, which is compulsory, you are given 5 short notes and you have to do them all. There is no option left. In this particular question, you will a lot of time find, this question is basically write short notes on. And in this section, you will very often find writing short note on alienation. And when you write, make sure you cover things comprehensively. Make sure that you cover the alienation part of the bourgeois as well. Alright. So this is all about alienation. In the next lecture, we will be looking at other theory of Karl Marx as well.